Okay, so we had a very busy Blood Bowl news weekend that all started with this picture here. Now, this picture is of a Rat Ogre box with what it was inside, not at all being a Rat Ogre. It was hairy, it had claws, but it had jaws. And this went huge. Saturday night, I think it was. Trips, is that right?
Yeah, it was Saturday night. I woke up Sunday morning to that picture in our group chat, and I was like, "What? What have I missed?"
Yeah. Sunday morning. So, what did Tiff and I do? Tiff and I did something on Saturday. I think it might have just been. Did we go out for dinner or was it a movie night or something? Can't remember. We did something, and it meant that I was not paying attention to hobby of an evening, and it was lovely. And then I woke up the next day, and there was messages and emails and the group chat, and I was like, "What has happened?" And then we saw this, and it led to what has to be a great 24 hours of conspiracy theories. So basically, several people had bought a rat ogre, and it had been delivered, and inside it was what appeared to be a completely different model. And the people who got it did a great job. They kept all the Games Workshop tabs, because if you bought a resin model from Forge World, they've got these chunky plinths of resin that I'm assuming is important to the casting process and to just making your product feel like it's worth the £47 that you've paid for it. And then there was a picture of it built, and it very much looked like a Yeti. And there was some bits there, but this is my favorite bit, and I don't know what you thought about this, Ian, but like how it went from, oh cool, I've got a Yeti, to that's fake, that's not a real Games Workshop model, which was my first thing. I mean, that was when you saw it, did you think it was fake?
So when I saw it with the that big chunky base on, uh, I just thought someone's made a huge cock up, but that's a preview model in a Ratoga box. And I think there were two sets of people: those who would wish they tried to buy a Rat Ogre and were trying to get a Snow Yeti, and those who were determined that April had arrived a bit early and we were being absolutely wound up.
That is it. And I've got to say, I was convinced it was real, but never underestimate people on the internet, because it could have been faked and it would have had to been done incredibly well. Anyway, this model landed, they showed these build versions of it, and it was like, this is a Yeti. There was a couple of speculations that maybe it was a Vargulf, maybe it was a bat person for vampire teams, and it got crazy. And we speculated on the channel, we were like, what's going to happen tomorrow? It's going to be New Miniature Monday, and we are going to see Games Workshop kind of scramble around to unveil what it was in the end. And what it was in the end was, in fact, a Yeti. And the thing I absolutely love about what Games Workshop did was they played into the Bigfoot vibe. They said, look, there's this fuzzy picture, and the movement pose looks so much like the classic Bigfoot picture as well, that it was just excellent. And when I did the video on the Sunday, I chucked in the Bigfoot photo, because this was just massively the vibe, and I was over the moon with all of it. I thought it was brilliant fun, and now they've released the fact that we've got this Yeti. So I guess my first question is, Ian, what do you think to the model?
So I like the model, uh, and I mean it's. I think the painted up version they showed does the model much more justice than the pictures we saw, because there was lots of concern about the scale and the legs and the arms. But I think the paint job of the model really brings it out nicely.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, oh, I've got the photo of the Yeti, but it's upside down. Anyway, yeah, when it was first shown up, there was even people saying, "Oh, this isn't a Games Workshop model." Look at the proportions, look at the legs. The legs are too small, the arms too big. This is someone else has done this. It was awesome, the speculation. But when you see it painted, it's just phenomenally good, and this has got to mean that we're seeing Norse next, Ian. Surely.
Oh, it. I mean, the article doesn't confirm or deny anything, but there's no way you'd make a Yeti model without the team that the Yeti plays for.
Yeah, and this is really interesting. So, I mean, let's talk about the monumental mess up first of all. I mean, the other great part to the puzzle about this was how many accusations were there saying Games Workshop have leaked this on purpose. Uh, do you think that could be in any way true?
I don't think that could be true, but I do wonder, do you get a refund on your Rat Ogre if you get a Snow Yeti?
That's one thing we need to find out. But Games Workshop customer service, generally speaking, are really good. So I'm pretty sure that these guys just got a free Yeti model, which
Yeah.
yeah, it's just awesome. So when my Rat Ogre turned up, I was gutted to find a Rat Ogre in it. Um, I was like, come on, let's do this. I mean, I have an opinion on this one, and I think I want you to tell me whether this is reasonable or not. So, from a production point of view, what I believe to have happened is yes, the people who sort the models will probably be sorted automatically. Okay, by the you cast the models, you chuck them in a big box, one arm, one arm, one arm, one arm, one leg, one leg, one leg, one leg. But the packet is sealed, and I mean, I don't know when the last time you bought a Forge World model was, Ian, but they are sealed real good, and you are going to need
Uh,
an X-Acto blade to cut it open. You can't seal stuff like that by hand. That is done by machine. So I think they split the models up and then they go into the run. It gets carded and it gets sealed, and I imagine that is done by a machine. What I think has probably happened is that Carl, the new guy, has left paper in the printer. I mean, you and I have both worked in many
yeah.
offices, and it's always fun to see, confidential stuff that people have just left in the printer. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, come on, guys. So I believe someone just loaded up the printer, left the Rat Ogre ones in the bottom. The printer was full. They've then gone to box up the Yetis, and they've whipped it through, and it's been labelled up with the Rat Ogre instead. And then John's come along and gone, for goodness sake, Carl. Or someone's just noticed that they're Rat Ogres. And when you look at a box full of Rat Ogres, it's grey plastic with a massive picture of a Rat Ogre, right? So they're just going to go, right, no, that batch there, they've been put in with the Yetis. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, whip them out. Come on, let's put them back. Someone's gone, oh, Rat Ogres are mixed in. That's stupid. And put them back in with the Rat Ogres without checking the models. And then they've sent out the Rat Ogres, and it's actually just because of that labelling error. That's my grand theory.
That would work. The that theory could be really backed up if you order a Yeti in the future and you get a Rat Ogre.
Yeah, that would suck. That would be really disappointing. Um, as long as you don't accidentally get a Frankenstein, then it's probably fine. But no, I don't think Games Workshop would ever do this as a hype thing. However, it works. So maybe they do. I
It
don't
it
know.
it works. The bit that makes me think they didn't do it as a hype thing is that the article looks like it was a Monday morning panicked marketing meeting of we're going to have to confirm it. We don't have anything else to say. So let's get some pictures, let's get it up,
Yeah.
and let's try and forget that this weekend happened.
And I think they did a great job. And the way they've posed it is exactly the same as the classic Yeti walking model, the Bigfoot walking pose from the photo. And I think it's excellent. So whoever's done that, excellent recovery. You know what? Confirming the model is brilliant. It built up a huge amount of excitement. I think they've just done a really good job of taking an innocent mistake and just maximizing it. And I've got to say, I mean, Trips, you and I work in corporate environment. Well played. Like, they dropped the ball, they picked up the ball, and they threw a touchdown. Like, that's, yeah. They didn't quite Garoppolo it. Yeah, sadly they Aaron Rodgered it. Anyway, great model. So now the big question: this is a spoiled model. This has been potato cammed, but they clearly had one painted up. Nobody can paint this in 24 hours. Not like this. Not this good. Um, so this has been done, but I don't know how long their release schedule is ahead of time. I mean, we could, I guess, still see high elves. Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think they would change the release schedule?
I don't think they'd change the release. I think too much is set in stone months in advance
Yeah.
with stuff nowadays. I don't think that'll change. And we all remember the Treeman. Is the Treeman come out yet?
So it's been out
Um,
for years, isn't it? Yeah,
um,
you're bang
so
on there.
I don't think they'll change the release schedule. But yeah, I think we're seeing a Norse team in the next 3 to 6 months tops.
And that's it. So we had a good chat about this in some of the video comments about when we could see Norse and stuff like this, and they sort of said, "Well, what did last year's releases look like?" And last year was a very atypical year, and I think we saw the huge volume of releases at the end of the year, which really tied in with the shipping stuff getting back to normal, didn't it? So
Yeah, yeah. Everything was stuck on a boat somewhere for far too long.
yeah, and the almanac. Do you think the almanac was supposed to be released in now, or do you think it was supposed to be released before Christmas?
So previously, they were always released just before Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, but you've got to have a gap between the last spike and it coming out. Otherwise, you're just going to murder the sales of that spike.
That's a really good point, actually. I hadn't considered that. I kind of thought maybe they didn't want to drop it at the same time as Dungeon Bowl, but I don't think that would bother them. But I do think that maybe with the Almanac landing now in the essentially the February time slot, I think what have we got? I think there's a Depticon. Is it a Depticon in April?
Yeah.
I think that's probably when we'll see the next team. And if they've got this model ready to go, then yeah, it's probably Norse end of March, April time. Um, and that would be my prediction. But the question is, what do you think? How much do you think the roster will change?
Well, it's controversial, this one. So, uh, uh, some people would say that the Norse have too many positionals. I've heard that once or twice. And they seem to be going with the sort of standard roster build model. I hope they don't tweak the roster too much because I think Norse can be really good fun, and they're the classic team of if your dice roll well, you'll have a great day. If your dice don't roll well, you'll
Yeah.
need 5 journeymen next week.
The catchers on that team are sneakily some of the best players kicking around. Movement 7 with block and agility access means that they are blodgers in no time at all. But they need it because, like you said, they're armor 8 plus. So it's a really interesting roster. I Part of me thinks we should see a little bit of a change to the roster. And yes, I am the person who says there's too many positionals because I think I think the Berserkers and the Oathwarreners are a bit too much of a crossover. It's a strange one. Um, and the
I can
thrower,
see one of them being dropped or a tweak to
yeah,
them, and you can have four maybe.
yeah. And I don't know if we'll see that. Or I think I would prefer the thrower to go, and just change the catcher into a runner name. Because
Yeah.
the thrower is a strange one. It's an interesting one. I don't know what they'll do for the box set, but one of the great things that came out of this article that Milton actually picked up on, the Yeti's number is numbered up with 15,
Mm.
which raises the question of does that mean that the Norse box has 14 players in? Is this too much of a stretch, Trips, or do you think I think that's pretty reasonable? I think that's a pretty clever assumption.
I think that it's a good assumption, but that's assuming that they've thought through the number of players in the box, who the Yeti's going to be, and they've told the person painting the model all of that.
Well, they've given them the transfers. because
Yep.
these are the transfers. So
They're
because
definitely transfers, yeah.
yeah, there's a really cool dragon head that looks like it's from the front of a longboat,
Yeah.
as the team icon there. Oh, Forge World, I am a human. Stop telling me to click pictures of buses. Why is it? Why do this, Forge World?
Oh,
Very
all the
strange.
time.
Yeah,
So annoying.
baffling. It's like what robot is trying to do stuff to Forge World? Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I think there is definitely an argument to be made for it. And when we did the maths on the player types, two Ulfwereners, two catchers, two berserkers, two throwers, and six linemen comes to 14. So if they don't tweak the roster and they provide 14 players in a box, which one would be amazing, um, and that would tie in nicely. Could you see them doing that?
I can see them doing it. We've seen a few more teams that are one box, and they're very popular because you can literally buy the box, build them up, and take them to club 2 days later.
That's it. You're one and done, and it is really interesting to think that what they might be doing. Now the teams we've seen 14 players in have been skinny teams because if you think about when we've had Undead and Necro, they had 14 players in, right? But
Yeah.
most of their players are not a lot of plastic. They're skinny models that don't take up a huge amount of space on the sprues. The Corn team with a couple of strength four boys and a whole bunch of muscle, which you would have to assume that the Norse guys would be the same kind of proportion as the Corn team. I don't think they could have fit an extra two Corn guys on that roster,
No.
and that would be potentially my counter argument. Um, just doing a bit of digging here. I'm checking out the Bloodspawn to see if it was numbered, and it wasn't numbered. Okay, I thought maybe there's a bit of correlation there. Hmm. So it's a very interesting one. But I mean, Norse Landing is pretty great. Okay, the Rot Spawn is numbered 13, and there was 12 dudes in the box. The Rat Ogre he numbered? He is numbered. Oh, he's numbered 15. All right.
Mm. Maybe
Hmm.
it's their big guy number and they're doing it just to wind us all up.
Maybe. Maybe it's just the whole conspiracy thing. Man, that Rat Ogre model is really nice. I feel bad. I mean, I think we should take a moment to respect the fact that they've released a really lovely Rat Ogre model, and
And nobody wants it.
it's now, you know, dead to us. Like, it's just, it got FOMO'd in the face. It's a terrible thing to happen to a Rat Ogre. Um, yeah, interesting. Right, so I think we're safe to say Norse confirmed, and we reckon spring release, and that's great news because there was a lot of concern about the teams of legend not landing, um, or being massively changed up or being overridden because the last six Games Workshop teams have been new teams. Khorne, new team. Black Orcs, Nobility, Snotlings. Is that it? All new teams. Then the Necro team was Team of Legend but got revamped.
Yep.
And then the team before that was Underworld or OWA,
Yeah.
and they got revamped as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Underworld and OWA both got revamped before anyone could play them first time around.
So
And it was
so the last
Ogres
seven
before
teams,
that.
and yeah, the Ogres got rejugged as well. So the eight of the last teams, four have been brand new, and the other four have all been adjusted. So this is why I lean on the side of Norse getting an adjustment, and then do you know what we're going to get, Trips, from the conspiracy point of view? It's going to be the classic Games Workshop has changed this up to set the third party on fire.
Well, of course, I have a third party Norse team that never quite have made it onto the tabletop, mainly thanks to a pandemic. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, that was
I'm
gutting.
yeah, really hoping that I can get get the team out, the models, and yeah, they might be the next team that I look at.
The next project team. Yeah, Milton built a custom Norse team that will never. Well, he did. He went and he came third in a tournament, I think. Or did he win? No, he didn't quite win. I think he came third. So had a good outing with his Norse team, but he was like, "Oh, for flip's sake, I knew this was going to happen." And we talked about it because this
I think
is
he called it while he was doing it.
he did actually, and this is definitely one of the massive risks of Team of Legend. Is Games Workshop, they like change. They like change for the sake of change most of the time. And Teams of Legend, they're not risking anything by changing them up. And this has led to some great theories. I don't know if you've heard these ones, Strips, like about Amazons being folded into Norse was one of the biggest ones that people were talking about. Because obviously the aesthetic of just a bunch of barbarian women it doesn't massively line up to where Games Workshop want to be from a corporate standpoint now. Which and they've done a great job making things more sensible, making armor for oh, sometimes anyway, and that's just and mixing up the genders in every model kit now feels like it's almost a 50-50 split between.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that with the Amazon and Norse. I think I think we'll see a Norse team as a Norse team. Um, I think the Yeti's a good sign.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
love,
they'll be
I'd
a
love,
popular team then.
I'd love a couple of shield maidens though. If they go a Norse design, more akin to a Vikings design, than
Yeah,
I mean, when I think of Norse, I think of the classic Norse model who's bare chested with one arm curled, standing there jolly as the day is long. That's what I think of when I think of the Norse team. Um, but actually, if they go a little bit more, Viking-y instead, there's a cool bit of design there to go with. I
but
get, yeah,
loads of design and there's so much hobby space because yeah, there's you can pick a Norse team from many different worlds, many different bits of lore, yeah, and no one's going to argue that it's not a Norse team.
no, exactly. Oh, there he is, Norse Lineman 2. That's who I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen. Ooh, there's some pixels in that, isn't there? About 5 of them. That's oh, never mind. Um, Pixels for the win. Right, where's my picture there? I do love the classic Norse models. They are great. They are dumb, but they are great. And the Norse team itself has a really cool playstyle, I think. But that's yeah. If we move away from this design and go to something a little bit more sporty, I think it'll be a pretty decent factor. But if they don't, and I can also see in Norse being the first team that they just don't touch, because their thrower gives you an option to just flex out. And I mean, I got a lot of flame on Tinterweb when I did the Norse starting rosters, or no, the Norse tournament rosters, and I included a thrower because everyone's like, "The heck are you including throwers, Thor? Like, don't even take them, don't even take them." And they become a leader caddy in a tournament environment. That's it. And but I can because I think players think that's dumb. Games Workshop tends to go, it doesn't need fixing right now.
I could see them dropping block from the Norse thrower and throwing on running past there just to really get us
Oh,
talking about it.
that would, yeah. Here's a player that you don't like, or now you really don't like him. Yeah, let's give him animal savagery as well, just to really go for it. Ooh, what do you think about the Ulf Warreners getting animal savagery?
That would sort of fit. That would change quite a lot how you build a roster because you have to think a little bit more carefully about it.
What about 0 to 4 Ulf Warreners, but they have animal savagery or something? That would be
Or
just horrific. But this is
yeah,
it. That
then you're looking for the skill package where you can take pro all over the place.
yeah, interesting one. It's interesting to see. I mean, I'm very lucky in that I have more teams than I can ever use. So when it comes to Team of Legends, like I'll make a team and run it and actually upgrade it when Games Workshop drop it. And I mean, look, I've got like 4 dwarf teams and I'll probably never run one. And it's fine. So when it comes to the Norse team or the Amazon team like that, I do definitely caution you from going third party. There's some great stuff out there, but it's a risky 80 quid if you're picking up a third party team.
Especially now. I mean, now you know they're coming. I'd wait, and we've seen third party companies respond really quickly to the roster changes and get the additional positionals or the additional players sorted. So yeah,
Yeah,
just
Grebo are especially very good
wait.
at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I think that basically wraps up the Norse talk. Trips, anything you think we've missed?
No, just I think we'll see a lot of Norse in the second half of the year in tournaments.
Yeah, I wonder what they'll do star player wise, but hey, I guess we'll find out in a couple of months' time. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.